All right. Welcome back. Okay. So, kind of all of this starts with, well, there's a book out there called The $100 Million Offers. And I really dug deep into that. A lot of my past industry experience has been around, in and around commodities. And I cut my teeth in manufacturing. Manufacturing is extremely commodity based, from the raw materials to you being able to sell it. Um, and it's always a race to the bottom. And so that was really critical to try to figure out how to not have a race to the bottom, and how do you actually be profitable and stay profitable. And so that's kind of what spun all of this. So one of the few examples that I have is, normally what happens is if you have you're buying, you're doing all this work, you're doing all this effort, and at the very end of the day, your reward for all of that effort is you don't have any money. You don't have anybody to end up, to actually pay for your services, and you're never making a living. You're never actually expanding yourself. So one of the things that, one of the easiest ways to do it, first thing is the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your profits are coming from 20% of your products or services, probably. And 80% of your headache is probably also coming from the 20% that's not making you money. And so you have this interesting thing where a lot of people are spending tons of time and effort firefighting a product or service that isn't actually profitable or making them money at all. And a lot of people only see the revenue, the gross money comes in, but they don't pay attention to the actual cost to fulfill. And so a lot of it starts off with just saying so many people just don't have they're just not aware enough. They're just reacting. They're constantly reacting to customers and things that break, and they're reacting to orders, and they're reacting to defects, and they're not actually being thoughtful and strategically planning. And so the first one is know your numbers, right? Figure out the 80-20 rule. Make sure you go through and actually know what is your most profitable products. Can you push that more? Should you be doing more of that if you have your most profitable products, not your revenue, not the ones with the most revenue? So the next one is take your product right now, whatever your product is or your service, and think, okay, if I 10x that product, right? You sell this thing for $1,000. Now you have to charge $10,000. At $10,000, what do you have to feel comfortable providing for you to be able to charge that? That is going to be number two. Number three would be if you take that $10,000, right? What does that have to look like? What service you have to provide? What back end support you have to buy? Same thing. If you have $1,000 service or product and you only had to sell it for 10 times cheaper, for $100, what do you have to change about your product or service? What software do you have to use? What materials would you have to use? Would you only go to a rental version of it instead of actually selling it? Would it be subscription based instead? Right. So answering those two questions. Now you at least have starting points of using the metrics of, hey, if I offer 10 times more. So we're going to use an example really quick. I just got back from Peru, and a travel agency booked with me. And I know that they made $100 and that it cost me $750. And so at the end of it, I was really excited. He's also a friend of mine. I've done it multiple times. I've gone there multiple times with him. I said, hey, listen, Jordan, if you charged me $7,500 for your service, what would you have to provide me to feel comfortable? And he's like, well, I wouldn't charge that. I said, no. This is a thought experiment. Charge me $7,500. What do you have to give me? And he said, well, you'd get lodging included. You'd be in 5-star hotels the whole time. You would take the Hiram Bingham, which is $1,000 one way to Machu Picchu. You'd climb Machu Picchu. You'd stay at the Sanctuary Lodge, which is $1,000 a night or whatever. You'd then go to Machu Picchu on off hours. You'd come back. We'd pick you up with a limo, whatever. So that's what I would have to charge you. I'd feel comfortable charging you $7,500. I said, okay, cool. Well, you charged me $750, you made $100. What was your profit margin if you charged me 7,500? His answer was, it's somewhere between $1,500 and $1,700. I said, cool. Was one more or less work for you? And he said, actually, it's the same amount of work. It doesn't change anything for me. It's just the amount of work. So one's providing a luxury experience to a different type of customer who wasn't me, but he gets 10x the revenue, more than 10x the revenue with just that price. Now I said, now let's do a mid-tier one. So let's say you charge me $4,500. Okay, you're $4,500. Well, what do I get for you charging me $4,500? Can you make it 80% as cool as the $7,500 one? And he said, yeah, you'd still get 5-star lodging. It'd just be a different hotel. You'd stay at a 5-star place in Aguas Calientes, but not right at Sanctuary Lodge. We'd still get you into Machu Picchu after hours. And, we probably would offer, a massage twice during your trip for a 1-week trip. And then we do laundry twice during the trip. So you'd go on the expedition, you come back, you have food and drink available. Well, it's 80% the same thing as the high-end one. It's a little bit cheaper. And then I said, okay, now why don't you offer a service that is $3,000? So for $3,000, you get almost nothing. You have to find your own lodging. You still get you there on a normal train to Machu Picchu. We'll put you in a 3-star place out in Aguas Calientes, and we'll still get you there after hours. But you're not going to have a luxury car. You're not going to have any of those things. So now the customer is going to be comparing $7,000 to $5,000. Those are extremely close. You get 80% as much as the $7,500 one. They're going to be comparing that $5,000 one to the $3,000 trip for a week. And that right there is going to be significantly cheaper, or it's going to be not that much more for way more value. So they're going to say, okay, I'm going to pick way more value over the other one. And the difference is it's all the same amount of work to him. And so that was a really big difference. And he makes way more. Him and his wife worked their butt off with that company. So that's one small example. Okay, we're going to change gears to a local service-based business. We're going to go with a lawn mowing company. Lawn mowing company around here, they're charging $50 per time they mow, and they're going to be mowing, let's say twice a month. That's $100 a month. It's commodity-based. That's all they're doing, and they're competing. And then so now you've got Tony is going to say, oh, I won't charge you $50. I will charge you $4. And then again, they're just pushing down and down and down. So they got to get more customers and more fuel, whatever. So we said, hey, I sat down with a guy. I said, what will you have to offer if you charged $500 a month? He's like, oh, that broke his mind immediately. He's like, I can't do that. I said, no. Just tell me what you would have to charge, or what would you have to offer to charge me $500 a month? And it was super simple. He said, okay, well, I would mow, twice a month, no big deal. And I would sweep the eaves out of the corners of your house for spider webs and bugs. I'd mulch everything. And then in the wintertime, I would come and, I'd shovel things, and I also clean your gutters. I said, cool. All right. So for $500 a month, you have one customer. You're making 10 times the amount of money as you were just servicing one customer. So you had to get way more. And he's like, cool. Well, but no one's going to pay me that. All right. So let's come down to a middle price tier. So you have your $100 is your middle price point, or your low price point, which we'll get to later. That's what you're making now. You're making hardly nothing doing it. Your middle one, your high tier was $500. That's a price anchor. And then in the middle, we said, okay, let's find a $300 a month option that gets you almost all the things the $500 option gives you. He said, okay, well, I'll mow twice. I'll clean your gutters out. And maybe once a month, I'll do the mulch. I said, cool. So now they're going to compare the $500 option to the $300 option. And then I said, why don't you raise your price from your $100 option just to mow to $200 to mow? All right, so now you're at $200 versus $300. $300 gets you way more. You're making significantly more. They're now not comparing you as a commodity, a guy who mows. They're comparing you as the full service. I'm going to do all the things for your house. You call it something fun, whatever it is, buy back your Saturdays or whatever. Now you hold all the cards. So you've got a $200 or $300 person, $300 price point, where you're still you're making far more profit at zero extra effort or cost to you. Now you don't have to just scale, right? That same guy we were talking to before, his previous answer was, hey, I'm really struggling. I'm spending $40,000 a month on marketing. I'm trying to scale. I'm like, dude, you spend 40 grand a month on marketing. Like, you need to be teaching me about, like, where's all that going? Do you have any return on investment? Yeah, we have some stuff here. Okay, well, let's he's just trying to grow. He's like, well, now I got to buy more trucks and get more guys. I was like, let's just look at your pricing. What can you offer for more as a package? So you're not just competing as a lawnmower guy. You're competing as a full service, all yard thing person, right? Now, all of a sudden, the wheels are turning and he's going out and he's making changes and he's able to get way more money for doing less work, less wear and tear on his vehicles, and he has more profit at the end of the day, right? He gets to keep the same amount of guys on his team, but he's offering far more services, and there's nothing else to compare him to because he's the only guy who does that in an area, right? You have a gutter guy, that gutter guy does gutter things. You've got the lawnmower guy, you have that. You have a landscaper, well, you hire a landscaper to make things look nice once. This guy's going to make sure you do all of it. There's really nothing directly to compare him to because he has structured his offer correctly. All right, so last example I'm going to give you is a buying example. I was purchasing a house from a guy, 70-year-old. We're using strategic pricing, but now I'm the buyer, but we have this skill set to offer. And it was a really rundown house. For those of you who don't know, I have a real estate background. It was a rundown house. That rundown house basically was a 2-1. It's worth about 85, maybe 100 grand if it's in everything's super finished, right? Super nice. After renovation cost, it was going to cost us about $50,000 for us to renovate it. And then we had to make a margin in the middle, and then we had to calculate risk. And so we basically said, listen, here's the numbers. This is the comparables in the area. We have to offer this. The max we can pay you is going to be is $10,000 or $15,000. Here's the math. We can pay you 15 grand for your house at maximum. Well, 70-year-old guy, he's sweeping. The place is in terrible condition. He just wants done with it. Said, but I wouldn't take that from us. If we have to pay you today, that's all we can pay you. And here's the numbers. You can go get other quotes, but that's what we can give you. But how about this? We'll pay you $40,000 for your place. We have to put $50,000. We'll pay you 40 grand, but let us pay you $250 a month for the next 10 years. And at any point in time, if we refinance, then you'll just get the rest of the money as a lump sum. Why is that a win-win? Well, we don't have to pull the money out today to buy the house. We just get to use the money to immediately go into renovations. If we don't pay you, you get the house back. You make rent in the meantime, which is huge. So all of that stacks together, and it's actually a better deal for us to pay more than to pay less. So anyways, guys, that was a whole bunch of examples, some quick ones. Feel free to ask any questions you have, and we will see you on our other live streams. It is the first format that we're doing. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you later. Bye.